Yes. Hello, everyone. This is the Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. Today, folks, I will be doing something different. I'm going to attack and address a very serious topic. A lot of you all are going to be concerned about the message in this topic. Some of you are not going to believe it, but the Pacific group that I will be talking about will know that what I'm saying and sharing will be nothing but facts because we have studied this issue. We have done a lot of workshops and seminars with this group that I will be talking about, and you'll see that it's a very serious situation when we start talking about the favorite topic today, and that is senior citizens now and in the future. Senior citizens now and in the future. I want to thank you all for listening to the Henderson Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize. And today I will not be criticizing anyone. I don't believe in doing that. I always talk about the best thing. That's how to organize so you can have a better life, live longer, and have the resources you need to have what we call a quality life in your final years. And that's what we are talking about today. Senior citizens now and in the future. And we're going to tell the senior citizens, organize, don't criticize. Your life choice. A lot of you have a life choice. It's not very good. It's not very promising for about 90% of you. About 10% of the senior citizens are going to be fine. But I'm concerned about that 90%. But we're not going to dwell in the past. We're going to focus on what we call individual shaping of his or her future. And it's now, folks, it's a time to craft a corrective plan for senior citizens. And before I get started today, I just want to ask a few questions that senior citizens should ask themselves. Now, I want you to listen, folks. I want you to call your grandparents, your great-grandparents, and if you're 50, you need to start listening too, because in just a few years, you'll be considered a senior citizen, those that are 50 years of age. In some areas, they say if you're 55 up, you can be considered a senior citizen. And now, here's what I want you to know, and this is what I want you to ask yourselves. For all the senior citizens today, I'm going to do 4 things. First one, I would ask certain questions that you should already have asked yourself. I'm going to focus on your needs. We call it your current needs. I will be talking about something that is very seriously not addressed, and that's personal care for senior citizens. Personal care. And then, folks, I want to talk about something that most senior citizens don't know much about, just heard about it, they don't do much about it. And that is, I want them to learn how to review what we call their current salvation plan. And I'm most certainly not talking about going to heaven, senior citizens. A lot of you all worry about that too much. And when I start talking about your current salvation plan, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. And the end result today, when we talk about senior citizens, is I'm going to ask you one final question. What do I need to do starting tomorrow? That's the gist of what I'm going to be talking about today. And then we will come up with solutions to all the problems that we address. All of them. Anytime you have something to criticize, ladies and gentlemen, there is a need to address those criticisms with solutions that's going to help improve your situation while you are alive. So we're going to start off with 5 questions that I want all senior citizens to ask themselves. I'm going to be slow with these questions so you can think about it, senior citizens, and maybe some of you younger folks probably need to address these things that I'm going to be asking, because we all have questions that we need to ask ourselves. And the first one is, senior citizens, I want you all to ask yourself, why did I choose my partner and stay with him or her for 30, 40, 50, or 60 years? Why did I choose this man? Why did I choose this woman? Now they are gone after 30, 40, or 50 years. That's a very, very important question, folks. Now, you don't know right now what you're going to think about when you address this as an individual. Later on, you might talk to your children about it. Why do you think I chose your daddy, your mother, or your other person, my partner? And we're going to get into that, ladies and gentlemen. The next thing you want to do as a senior citizen is ask yourself a question. Did I make the right decision during my full-time working years about my education, about savings, about investments, and about personal care? You see where I'm going later on, folks? The second question is ask yourself, senior citizens, did I make the right decisions during my full-time working years about my education, savings, investments, and personal care? And of course, we are going to be talking about insurance options. That's all dealing with personal care. The third question all senior citizens should ask themselves is, am I proud of my children and grandchildren? Are they what we call a plus or a negative as far as I'm concerned? Grandfolks, grandparents, old and young grandparents must always wonder, and they do wonder. I talk to them all the time. They want to know whether I'm proud of my children and grandchildren. Am I proud? Ask yourself that. And if not, we're going to address that issue too, folks, and you find out whether or not you are really proud of them, or would you not rather have them in your presence? A lot of you are saying, now, I love my children. I just love them, whether they're good or bad. And if you do that, I can tell you in the conclusion what's going to happen to you, folks. I'm going to tell you. And the last one, I better say the next to the last, is do I continue to help my children and grandchildren when they should be more supportive of my needs? Think about it, old folks, young folks, and others, especially these senior citizens. Ask yourself, do I continue to help my children and grandchildren when they should be more supportive of my needs? You'll see what I'm talking about in a few minutes. You'll be surprised what is happening with close relatives, distant relatives. And sometimes you will see in this presentation that it's not the relative that's causing positive things to happen to senior citizens, it's the neighbors and those in those community organizations that they belong to. And we're also going to talk about the reverse, where senior citizens can't get along with the neighbors. They don't belong to any community organizations because they are not in a position to get and work with those folks anymore. And then, ladies and gentlemen, especially the senior citizens from 55 up, I want you to take 30 seconds and I want you to reflect on these questions that I've asked you. And I want you to invade your inner consciousness and come up with an answer to these questions. They are very important, folks. I'm telling you, and you're the only one can answer these questions and feel good about your answer. Now let's look at the important topic of focusing on your needs today. We call them self-care options. As you go along and live, ladies and gentlemen, in this old mean world, it's mean for some, it's great for others, and it's just optional for some. Some people, especially senior citizens, just don't enjoy their situation. They don't want to be around because they have problems. And one of the most serious problems they have is exercise. I can't afford to join a gym. That's what some of the seniors are saying. But we have a solution for that, ladies and gentlemen. Any senior citizen that can't afford to join a gym to exercise and keep his mind, his body, and his heart functioning properly really don't have a problem, because we have a selection of research that shows what seniors can do in order to move themselves physically and mentally in a position where they can be strong and focus on the future. And the first thing is so simple you wouldn't believe it. Seniors, if you are sitting around and can't afford a gym, don't have adequate transportation to get you where you need to go, you need to start doing something that I call exercise your age. If you're 50, 60, 70, 80, or 90, and some of you 100, all you have to do is just exercise your age. We have about 10 different exercises that you can use. Exercise your age. And if you are older, one of these older senior citizens, you want to do about 15 years at a time with these 10 exercises. The first one you're going to do, as you just sit at home in your chair, is, if you are 60 years of age, you're going to just sit in your chair and do 15 punches like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Do this 15 times, reflecting your age, until you do 100. Every 15 minutes in a 2-hour span, you want to do some of these things. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Until you finally get up to 75 or 80 or 100 or whatever age. Look how easy that is. No money spent. Don't have to have transportation. And then the next thing you're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, as an old senior citizen that can't get around, you're going to exercise your age in standing in a straight position where you just bend 10 or 15 times. Part of your 10 exercise regimen. Just bend with your hands on your legs, around your knees. You're tweezing, teasing your ankles, bringing up on your hips, your fingers, tightening around your legs 10 or 15 times. The next thing you're going to do, if you're concerned about your health and you want to just sit around home and do it, many of you are not able to walk or run. You can do all of these things sitting down. Suppose you're in a chair and you just don't feel like walking. You have arthritis, rheumatism, mental problems, and other things going along. You can just sit in your chair and do this 15 or 20 times. Work on your fingers and your wrist area. Just tighten them up 5 or 6 times in series. 5 or 6 more times. Get faster and faster. And if you do this, folks, you've already done 4 different things, and you're going to do this for 10 or 15 minutes every 2 hours, because most senior citizens are not working very much. They are working usually 10, 15 hours a week, and a certain number, after they pass 75, are not doing anything. And they are just sitting there, feeling bad. But this little simple exercise series that I'm giving you now would make you live long and you feel better. Suppose you have difficulty walking, but you can stand. All you have to do is just stand in one place and start wiggling your toes and patting your feet. 1, 2, 3. Just where you stand. 4, 5, 6. Every 2 hours. Every 2 hours. You want to do about 15 or 20 of these until you do your age. And the last one you want to do, I better not say the last one since there are so many more. I'm going to give you the last one later on. Something else you need to do is do these head rotations, ladies and gentlemen. Head rotations. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then you're going to do forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very inexpensive. Doesn't cause any physical pain in most cases, and if it does, it'll go away if you do this every day. And the next thing you want to do is something that I've been telling people for some years. I do the same thing myself. I've been doing it for about 15 years. Every day I do 10 of these things that I'm talking about. I'm just going to share about 5 or 6 with you today. The other one is you need to just open your mouth and stretch your eyeballs 10 or 15 or 30 times. Wow, 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 stretching your eyeballs. You feel all that tension around your ears, around your neck. Just getting easy, getting away. You feel that blood circulating in your ears and around your neck, in your lips, and your eyes will start feeling better and relaxed. And the last one you want to do, and this is sort of what I call something you need to talk to your family about, because it's something I've learned that gets a lot of attention in the house. When you are telling your loved ones at home, well, grandma, granddad are going to be taking some exercise today. And the last one that I'm going to address today is when you get through doing all of those, and every time you do your last one, I want you to do this one. You just start hollering in place. Ow, 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 ow. Just hollering and squalling to yourself. If there's anybody in the house, they're going to be coming to you. You'll just realize and feel so good where all around your neck, around your lips and jaw area, behind your head, you'll feel a sensation. And you might want to holler loud, real loud, 5, 10, 15, or 20 times. And then if you're in a position where you want to just really feel good, you do your last one, and any one that I mentioned could be your last exercise. But if you're able to get on the floor, you might want to go and say, I can't do push-ups, but I can sure do the roll. Get on that floor on a mat, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about you senior citizens now. Get on that mat and just start rolling on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what you can do. And this is what I'm telling you. I want you to be able to organize yourself. Focus on self-care. And in a few minutes, we are going to come back because it is time now to take a break, seniors, and all the people that are living with senior citizens. If you're living with them, you need to share this with them. Say, I heard about it on the Eldridge Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize senior citizens. Think about your personal care. So we're going to have a commercial or a message from our underwriters for a minute or two, and then we're going to come back with a conclusion telling senior citizens how they can put themselves in a position where they have a salvation plan where they have lived so long. Their relatives and friends will wonder, how can you look so good, senior citizen? Why is your weight under control? Why are you able to smile and walk and talk even though you don't do as well as you used to? We'll tell you why in a few minutes. So stay tuned. Be back in about 90 seconds.
SocratesGarrettENT.com is a diversified firm specializing in recycled aggregates and crushed concrete. SocratesGarrettENT.com's recycled materials provide the construction industry with significant economic and environmental benefits by recycling clean concrete rubble into MDOT grade rock materials. Recycled aggregates and crushed concrete can be applied to driveways, road construction, bank protection, parking lots, general bulk fills, and more. For more information, please call 601-896-0084 or visit us online at SocratesGarrettENT.com.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, senior citizens, this is the Old Henderson Real News Show. Organize, don't criticize. We're doing something different today. We're talking to senior citizens, those that are 55 years of age to 100, 105. I don't see and hear about too many people beyond 106. So I'm just concerned today about those so-called senior citizens. I told you earlier in the introduction that we have them from about 55 to 100 or so. And I'm talking about senior citizens now and in the future, what you can do to be saved on earth and have a salvation plan, which I will be addressing in the near 15 minutes or so. Now let's look at some of the other things. You would have to focus on your needs today, ladies and gentlemen, that you are not doing. And that is, seniors, some of you have a problem with making and keeping medical appointments. And the other part, according to what my doctors tell me, is say you don't follow the doctor's office orders. Why you don't follow my orders? Young man, you know how they like to do us old senior citizens. They like to call you young man. And many times your doctor is older than you are. He or she is unhealthy, overweight, all kinds of problems. They're trying to tell you what to do. I have a doctor right now. He's 450 pounds. Barely can walk. He walks like he's rolling. And he gets on me all the time. You need to lose another pound. You need to gain another pound or two. You need to take your medicine. Look like you have a little stress. And I say to myself, not to him, man, you the one needs some doctoring. You are here about to fall dead while you're taking care of me. And I believe I'm doing better than you, but I listen to the man with respect because I know he has some emotional problems, some mental problems, and he's doing his job to help me. That's why I respect him, and that's why I always go back. I know it's not going to be too long. One day I'm going to go, and they're going to say, he is taking a vacation. Next time I go back, they're going to say, he has retired. He's in retirement. 6 months later, I'm going to say, how's Doc doing? Oh, he's died, Eldridge. He had a heart attack. And I'm going to say, I'm sorry. Who is my new doctor? And I'm going to keep on, ladies and gentlemen, doing my exercise, my age exercise. And I'm going to keep my medical appointments. And I'm going to start then following my doctor's orders more securely. Because when you get a certain age and people you love or people you associate with start dying, all of you know that most people for some reason are afraid to die or don't want to die, and they're 90, 82, 2 times 80 almost. Just don't want to die, scared to die. And that's because they're not sure what the future is after death. They have been told all kind of crazy things. But we're not going to worry about that because that's going to always be the nature of mankind, to be unsure about what to do with himself. But if you want to have a better life, senior citizens, and focus on your needs today, one thing you need to do that's very serious, and that's become involved in what we call community activities. You got to get involved, first of all, in your church. You don't even have to be a member to be involved in a church. Just go to those churches in your community. If you're interested in becoming a member, do so. If not, get involved in the senior citizen ministry there, the senior citizen partnerships there, the senior citizen education program at that church, if they have one. And if they don't do that, you get involved in community affairs and go to the senior citizen center, and they have all kind of programs at most. Most of them have 3 to 5, 10 programs that you can get involved in. Many are very educational, stimulates your brains. Some of them are there playing checkers, chess. Some are doing badminton for the seniors that can move around a little bit. Others are there doing dominoes. Some are there talking and joking and having a good time. And that's what you have to do, folks. You have to do this, and you do this in these community activities. There are series of activities and places where you can get to this. And some of you senior citizens just like to sit around and talk about your personal affairs in a serious manner. And we have some studies to show that a lot of people don't know that senior citizens, or a lot of them, are very concerned in addressing dating and sexual concerns. I'd said it, folks. Thousands and thousands of senior citizens are addressing dating and sexual concerns. We'll get to that later if we have time. But that's what I want you to know and want you to consider when you focus on self-care. Ask yourself the questions that I mentioned earlier, and then start focusing on self-care, and you will then start getting ready for your salvation plan. And this is one of the most important things you're going to do, senior citizens, because most of you are not doing it. What is that, Eldridge? That's getting yourself together for your after years. Your after years are those years that you're going to be living in heaven or hell. And you know, you've been told by your preachers and others, there are 2 places to go when you die. And if you're a Catholic, you might have a third one. But most of the old Baptist people have been told you're either going to die and go to heaven or hell. Some say there's another little stop-off called purgatory. I think the Catholics go there, I guess. And I think you just go there and wait and to see what the Lord going to send you, hell or heaven. I don't know a lot about that stuff. A lot of it might be propaganda. Nobody died and came back and told us about it. So we don't know what it is. So you just do what you want to do. But anyway, you need to address these things and start talking about this salvation plan. So when you do leave here, senior citizen, you will have things in order. Now, the first item on your salvation plan, and most of you senior citizens don't have it. Now, I'm just going to tell you, and you're going to say, well, he's right, but I'm sure going to do it tomorrow. And that is, most of you don't have your will together. You have no will. You have no life estate plan, and some of you own all kinds of things. You have land. Many of you all have houses that have been paid for 15 or 30 years. You have nice cars. Some of you seniors have 2 or 3 cars. Some of you have an antique car. It's in the garage, covered up. And the one you drive every day is on the outside of the garage, in the weather. So you got to think about that. Life estate plans. Must do that will. You must look at your family members and see who is going to be the executor of your will. Will it be my son, my daughter, my grandchild? And you have to be very careful who you give that responsibility to, ladies and gentlemen. The executor of your will has to be a person that's going to look out for your interests, and he must be one of good character. And you just have to think about it. And if necessary, change the executor of your will from time to time. For instance, you might give it to that young son of yours. He's 35, he's a young family person, has 2 kids, he's working every day. You were able to send him to college. He has what we call a good job. 5 years later, he turns 40, He divorces his wife. He gets hooked on drugs and alcohol and young women and starts shacking, spending everything he can find, won't pay child support for his first family, and you have this rascal as the executive of your estate. He's going to probably sell your land and take care of your property and do everything he can before you die. You might die and not have anything. I'm going to make it very hard for you to say, well, he's wrong about that. So you just look at who you have as the executive of your will, of your estates, and then change it if necessary. But don't tell them. You don't ever tell one who is executive of your will. You say, I'm considering you. Will you do it? If they say yes, you might want to use that son or daughter or cousin or a good friend. But don't tell them that they have that responsibility. Just get their permission. The next thing you want to do is make sure, folks, you have what we call that end of life plan. That end of life plan, a lot of people call this thing the salvation plan, and others, if you do the research, they call it the end of life directives. You know, folks, now with COVID and some of these other diseases, you can be 100% today. And when you wake up in the morning, a lot of the senior citizens can't say a word. They can't hear. They can't hardly walk. You have to be rushed to the hospital. And here you are. You don't have what we call your end-of-life directives together. You, first of all, I told you, you don't have that will. Then you don't have what we call that power of attorney, where you're giving someone to make the ability to make decisions about you when you get into the hospital. What are they going to do with my body? Who are they going to call? Are they going to put me in the morgue until they figure out what they're going to do with me? Do I have any life-ending directives as to what happens if I get into a situation where I can't talk, where I can't see, where I can't hear, where I can't do anything but just look and roll my eyes, can't even turn my neck? What am I going to do about this end-of-life directive? What church will they be taking me to? Because, you know, a lot of you don't believe in certain things. You don't want to deal with cremations. You want to be buried at a church. A lot of you want to have a service. Who is going to preach that funeral? Who is going to be singing? Will you use a soloist or a choir member or a big choir or a band? All of that ought to be in your end-of-life directive. What funeral home will I use? Where will I be buried? Family cemetery, church cemetery, public cemetery. All of that should be in writing, ladies and gentlemen, with phone numbers and addresses, names of the individuals that own these places, funeral homes and all that. Where is my insurance coming from? Or have I paid cash for my burial? All of that ought to be in writing, ladies and gentlemen. So when you leave here, seniors, you won't cause a lot of confusion. Now, if you have some property and other assets, better not have a good retirement account. Your relatives are going to pretend they love you. They're going to be hollering and shouting at the funeral, and they're going to be asking everybody, when are we going to have the reading of the will? And suppose you don't have one, but a few of you, about 10% of you, are going to have one. And they're going to be waiting. I know Grandma's going to leave me something. I know my mother got me something. And usually, if you know all of that and don't know it for sure, you probably never have anything. Because if you have doubt, while she is in that grave, prior to that reading of the will, and you don't have or had good relations with him or her, you probably don't have anything of significance. It's going to go to others. So that's what you want to do, folks, to make sure that you have this, what I call current salvation plan. And there's something else you have to consider before you get to that so-called salvation plan to make things good and and prosperous for yourself before you leave, you're going to make sure that you have been practicing budgeting. Budget your monies. You have to learn to save before you put these plans together, because you need to have those savings included. You need to have investments, folks. A lot of you know you have property in California, in Mississippi, on the coast, in Alaska and other places. You have stocks and bonds, all kind of investments. All of this should be addressed in your life estates. You have insurance. Some of you have $2 and $3 million worth of insurance that you have already arranged to be distributed to some of your members in the family. And some of you already know that some of your family members are totally worthless. You have changed your will several times, and now your funds and other things will be going to community organizations, my church, the school I attended, the dog shelter, or just going to just let this money go to someone in the community that's going to use it to provide educational opportunities for young folks. Just unlimited things can be done. So when you do all of these things and get that salvation plan together, I want you to start saying, well, I have reviewed and listened to what he said about organizing and not criticizing my life choices. Now I want to do one thing. What do I need to do starting tomorrow? First, if you don't have a salvation plan, you need to start creating one. Get that will together. Get that life estate plan together. Get that end of life directive together. All you have to do, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a lawyer. You don't need a doctor. You don't need anyone. Get you a piece of paper and a pen, and you put the date on it and call it a will or life estate or end of life directive, whatever you want to do it, and put 1 to 10 on it and just start writing. My house will go to blank. The $100,000 in my checking account will go to blank. You're going to put the account number on it. My insurance policy, the one that I have locally at the local insurance company, going to go to blank blank. It's worth $250,000. My big savings account that they don't know about is worth $500,000. I'm going to give that to someone. You name that person. Name, if you know the phone number, address, do that. So you don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money getting your wills together, your life estates. It's good to get a professional to do it, but you can write it down yourself. Get it written down, and if you have the ability, type it up real good, sign it, and get 2 witnesses. In Mississippi and other states, some other states, you don't even need to get it notarized, but I always advise you to do so. And when you start doing this, ladies and gentlemen, when you get that salvation plan together and you review all of that, you will say, you know one thing, I have done well in my lifetime. I have provided for myself. I have provided for my family, my children, my grandchildren, and my great-grandkids, all doing well. And now I have this plan together, and this is going to help them for 3 generations. I did well. And that's because, senior citizen, you prepare now for the future. You organize yourselves. You organize your resources. You made the life choice that I'm going to do something different than my parents. I'm going to put a plan together called a salvation plan so I can do some things for myself and for my family. So folks, when you start looking at this, you will find that you're going to live longer. I guarantee you. You get all this together, seniors, while you are doing this exercise, because you're going to do 10 or 15 minutes, and then you sit down and work on your plan and others for a while, and you will just start feeling better. You live longer. You go to the doctor seldom, not very regularly. You take fewer pills. And if you're on 5 or 10 pills, if you do the things that I just mentioned, you get your mind so focused, a lot of stress will disappear. And every 6 months or so, your doctor will be telling you, well, You need to just stop taking this pill. You don't need this. You're sleeping better. Matter of fact, your hearing is better. Your eyes are clear because you're eating better. Good dieting is always important. So I'm going to conclude, ladies and gentlemen, and say next Thursday, you're going to have part 2 of Senior Citizens. Now and in the future, organize, don't criticize your life choices. You either make them or you don't have them. And that'll give you a chance now to think about what you have heard. And by next Thursday, which is today after tomorrow, I will come up here with part 2 of Senior Citizens, now and in the future. I'm not going to be talking about politics all the time. You're going to hear some real news from time to time. You're going to be hearing topics that can help you individually and collectively while you are alive. We ain't going to be talking about racism and all that kind of stuff all the time. Who cares about that? If you don't have your life in order, racism not going to help you nor hurt you. Discrimination not going to help you or hurt you. You're just going to be another entity in society that don't know where you're going because you don't plan to go anywhere. So I want to thank you folks for listening to the Henderson Real News Show. And if you want to hear more about this and any other topic we talk about here on the Eld Henderson Real News Show, Organize, Don't Criticize, all you have to do is call us at 601-201-1957, and we'll come and do a talk with you at your family reunion, church, school, or community organization. Or you might just want to email us at clu369@gmail.com and say, Doc, you ought to change up a little bit. You need to do this more often during your presentations. You always sound too strong or negative. Other times you move around too much. You don't have good eye contact with the camera. And you're always popping and clicking and doing this and that. Email me or call me and tell me about it. We want to do better every time. And you see, I publicly would tell you that I know I have some faults in presentation, but I want you to correct them. Help me correct them. Because we go to 139 different nations throughout the world, all the states, and we're on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and WeBelieveDigital.com. And I want to thank you. Goodbye.